Hi, John Terry with Vision Advisors, and I want to welcome you to this Insight with Vision, where we're going to have an opportunity to learn a little bit about direct mail marketing and some things you may not know about direct mail marketing that may result in you paying more than you should be paying and not getting the results that you want to have as you're spending money to get the right customer in the room so you can have that conversation that leads to sales. In the room with me today, I've got a very interesting gentleman I met just a couple of weeks ago, and I was fascinated by the story that he shared. And I want to give him an opportunity to share it with you, Mr. Jeff Mills. And Jeff works with a direct mail organization that has some very uniqueness about it. I think you're going to want to pay attention to for the next few minutes. So, Jeff, welcome to this Insight with Vision. And why don't you give us a little bit of your background in terms of what you do in the direct mail business and really maybe a little bit of your background to get our producers familiar with who you are.
Okay. Well, a little bit about me. As I always say, I'm not just your average direct mail salesman. I actually have a pretty strong financial background, so I can relate to all the financial advisors. When I got out of college and went to University of Georgia, I became a stockbroker, had a Series 7, a 63, even a 24, had an insurance agency. Had another company where we took companies public, investor relations company. So very versed in the financial industry, so I can, understand exactly what the financial advisors are doing. And MBI Direct Mail, the company that I work for, has been in business about 32 years. And about 4 years ago, they reached out to me. We've always been in the wholesale side. For many years, we were the largest mailer in the nation for the automobile industry, all done through ad agencies that resold our product. We're a full service printer, do everything in-house. And about 4 years ago, the CEO, who was best friends with my father, reached out to me, and we wanted to start a financial division. We used to do all the printing for a company, it used to be called RME 360, now it's called Lead Response. And they got bought out by an equity group about 4 years ago and started doing their own printing, so they left us. And we realized we could do it basically better, faster, and cheaper than what they were doing. So we've really jumped into the financial market hard the past 4 years. And, I've had a lot of success just from the standpoint of, skipping the middleman, offering everybody wholesale prices and, giving them, their direct mail for seminars or workshops is getting a better return on investment than any of our competitors. Couple keys that really make the difference for MBI competing in the market against our other competitors. All the other mail houses out there, they use what's called an IPA list, which most of your advisors are probably familiar with. It stands for investable personal assets. And in theory, it sounds like a really good list, except that it's a list that it doesn't have accurate information. We learned about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when the Democrats were trying to get Trump's tax returns, that it's not public information. So I'll have these advisors that'll be working with another company, and they'll call me up and I'll say, what have you been mailing in the past? And they'll say, oh, well, I'm targeting people 55 to 70 that have, $70,000, income, and they have, at least $500,000 to, that's in a 401k or an IRA. And I said, well, that's good. And then I'll give them my little analogy about, them wanting to get Trump's tax returns, and, it's not public information. And they're like, wow, you're right. Same as like HIPAA laws. There's a lot of stuff with, with direct mail lists that are very accurate, but there's a lot of stuff that it's just kind of guesswork. So I use what's called a net worth gold list, which I started experimenting with different lists about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's based on assessed home values, lifestyle, and credit is kind of the definition of the mailer, of the list. And it has really given me a big advantage. From the standpoint, let's say, for example, you have an advisor that's in a big market and he's competing against 5 or 6, 7 other advisors, every month, and inviting them to Fleming's, Ruth Chris, or whether it's an educational workshop. If I can find a list, which I have, that, if we're both comparing a comparable list and there's 10,000 names on both lists, and if I've got 1,500, 1,800 that aren't on the IPA list that all my competitors are mailing, I'm marketing to new people. So it's giving you, you're having people that haven't been marketed to as often. So you're going to tend to get a better attendee, at your workshop or seminar. and the conversion rate from an attendee to a appointment to a client is going to be much greater if they're not, being, wooed by, 5 or 6 advisors that are all within 15 or, 15 miles of them. Another thing that we created, an independent nonprofit. A lot of your advisors out there probably have been members of SOFA, CAFE, AFIA. There's several of them out there that your advisors can join. They charge anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000-$4,000 per year to be a member of it, which they serve a very good purpose. It enables them to use nonprofit postage. You can use a nonprofit indicia, which tends to get you a better response. It will also get you into venues that you couldn't get into if you weren't a member of a nonprofit, like some colleges, libraries, they require you to be a member. So we decided that there's all these companies out there that they say they're nonprofits, but yet they're charging an arm and a leg to be a member. So we decided to partner up with a independent nonprofit and get it formed, called Association of Financial Consultants. And what we do is we let all our advisors join for $200, but we refund them back to $200 on the first mailing. So it's basically free. So it's a win-win for the advisor. They get to save money on any type of mailing product, as long as it qualifies. It has to have the AFC logo, the disclaimer. It has to be a learning event. It has on there, this is a learning event, a non-selling event. But it can be done for dinner seminars. It can be done for workshops. And it gives the public a little bit more, I don't know what you're going to say, confidence that they're showing up with something, that they're going to learn something. They don't feel like they're going to get something jammed down their throat. And they come in, a lot more willing to learn. And, the advisors are getting, a lot more appointments, from a nonprofit than they are. They just invite them to a Ruth Chris, dinner. They know that they're going in to be sold something. So it is, it's really worked well. For example, I have a Social Security mailer that a lot of my advisors do. And I'm getting somewhere on the bad end, I get about a 0.7%. In some cases, I'm getting a 1.2% response on a non-dinner workshop, which is way better than the national average. The national average is about 0.5. So with the nonprofit combined with the mailing list that I use, the advisors are tickled to death.
Jeff, one of the things I like about what you guys do is in connecting with the nonprofit and making education the focused, you've really put the emphasis on making these dinner events and these non-food events financial literacy focused.
Right.
And that's a big area that we see. And we talk about this at Vision a lot, is the lack of financial awareness that consumers have and the fact that they don't know what they don't know. And far too many consumers, especially as we're getting into the end of the baby boomer generation, and we're now starting to have conversations with Gen Xers about what retirement's going to look like, all of a sudden they're coming to the realization they're going to spend a third of their lifetime in retirement, and they're making decisions with incorrect, incomplete, bad, or inadequate information that ends up financially creating perils in their life that they didn't even realize. So the focus on education, which is something consumers are demanding, really allows the producer to stand out as unique and different. And it's not that hard sell, twist your arm, try to get you to do something. People are coming and they're going to get real value as a result of using an education focused event. We've developed here, we've got currently 7 different messages that are all education focused on different areas of planning. But getting the right people in the right seat at the right time is where you guys come in. And I love what you're doing with your net worth gold list and the ability to look at true measurable metrics. And I know there's a number of producers that when you were talking a few minutes ago about the IPA list, they didn't realize that a lot of that is just best guess and that it's not
absolutely
true and accurate information. And now they wonder, and they may be thinking back to, well, I had 35 or 40 people in the room, but only 20 or 30% of them, after having conversation, really met the profile of who I was looking to put in the room. And they realize they're feeding a lot of people if they're doing a dinner event that really aren't the individuals that want and need and can afford the financial services that that financial advisor brings to the bear. So with what you're doing, it's going to give them an opportunity to get more of the right type of people in the room to hear the message that they're going to deliver.
Right, right. Absolutely. Talk a little bit about pricing. My competitors, a lot of your people that are probably mailing, they may or may not be aware of, there is a tremendous paper shortage right now. The supply chain is, moving at a snail's pace. All these other companies, my competitors, are, raising their prices weekly. My competitors out there for the standard, a lot of people use, we'll talk about different style of mailers. A lot of your advisors are probably use what the old 8.5 by 11 stuck in a 6x9 wedding style envelope. That's what a lot of advisors have used for years. My competitors are somewhere in the neighborhood of 75, 80 cents for those particular mailers. I'm more in the low 50s with the nonprofit. So I'm 15, 20 cents cheaper than all my competitors. Now, in my particular case, I'm not an envelope guy. It adds an extra 4 or 5 cents, and I believe that the majority of the people, a lot of them will throw it away before they even look at whatever your marketing piece is. I'm much more of a self mailer. Take that 8.5 by 11. It has a nonprofit indicio on it. They see that, you tab it. I find that it gets a better response and it saves the advisor money. And in my business, it's all about return on investment. If I can show you a cheaper product that's going to get you a better response, you're going to do repetitive business with me. We're a low margin company, high volume. I'm not looking for advisors that, they want to do one mailer, every couple of years. Most of my advisors mail monthly with me, if not twice, some even 3 times a month, depending on their area. And, I'm their marketing tool that gets the clients in there, and that's how they generate the revenue. Another little strategy that I do, if somebody's in a decent sized market, what I try to do is create a marketing plan for them, where if they say, okay, I want to do 10,000 mailers per month, whatever topic it might be. So I'll pull the list, and let's say we got 30,000 names for easy math. Most of my competitors, they always put their best foot forward, meaning that first month they'll mail to the closest 10,000. And the advisor like, oh, this is great. Then the second month, they're 5 to 9 miles away, the response goes down. And then the third month, they're 9 miles to 14 miles, and they're like, wow, this didn't do very good. I have a lot of confidence in what I do, that they're going to be a long-term client. So what I try to suggest is, I said, let's take that 30,000 and we will feather the list, meaning I will take a third of each zip code the first month. So we get some people that are close and some people are farther away. And then the next month I'll suppress out the prior month so that we have all new people. And then by the time we get through the third, on the fourth month, you can go back and repeat back to the first one. And the main thing is it gets you consistency, where the advisor says, okay, I know I'm going to send out 10,000 pieces. I'm roughly going to get, depending on whatever the topic is, 75 to 120 people to respond. They get that consistent month in and month out, so they can kind of base out their monthly business. Mm-hmm. So that strategy's worked very good for me.
Yeah. I like the self-mailer concept that you talked about. We've also had a number of our producers that we work with prior to COVID, when the seminar business essentially shut down, except for online, right, also used the oversized postcard. Right. And they found an oversized postcard did very well, because you're guaranteed to get a look, at least for a moment, before they have an opportunity to pitch it in the trash. And so I like what you're sharing there about the visibility. While the old wedding style invitation for a very high end event can be very attractive to a high net worth client, visibility is key. And in today's market, when we've really microwaved down response rates and really getting people to say yes or no quickly, that self-mailer or that postcard that they immediately have an opportunity to see the invitation is going to get them to pause just a little bit longer, and maybe not take the old wedding style invitation that they see as just another piece of junk mail and never open the envelope and throw it in the trash. And you as a financial advisor have just blown that opportunity. I also love the fact of what you're doing in parsing that. I like to define that as, if we look at an area around a restaurant, think of it as a pie. And if you can slice the pie up and you move to a different slice of the pie every month, you're not hitting the same people every time. And essentially what you're doing there with the looking at the different zip codes and then pulling from pieces of those, you're doing the same thing. So they're getting in front of new people and they're not burning up a list and wearing it out before it's time, and having an opportunity to really build value to serve the customers that want to be served. I like that in what you're doing.
Right. Well, what I've learned with the advisors is you can take, and people will drive to your office from the standpoint of, if you're going to do workshop or seminars, you have to do it in their neighborhood, in their area. Meaning, you can set it up all around your city. And as long as you stay 10, 12 miles within that venue, people will show up. Now, once you've, done your little spiel and, created your rapport and they like you, people will drive, 30, 40 minutes to come to your office to do business. They're talking about their finances and they're talking about their future. But people aren't going to drive, 40 minutes to go to a workshop or dinner, on a Tuesday night. So, tell the advisors, you have to be creative. You have to find the venues that are around, the target market. But once you have them show up, they don't mind driving, but they're just not going to drive for the workshop or for the seminar.
Yeah. And the other thing we've learned from COVID too, Jeff, is that a lot of these older advisors, the older clientele, became very adept at virtual technology. And there was a study I saw about 3 weeks ago that they were doing some research on consumers as we're coming out of COVID. They're not opposed to going to an event to learning and having an opportunity to do a dinner style event again. But when it comes to meeting with the advisor, almost 70% of the individuals surveyed over the age of 55 said they were very much comfortable in having those conversations, just like we're having it now digitally, rather than having to drive across town, because they learned they can save time. They don't get caught in traffic. They don't have to worry about an advisor coming to their house if that advisor is making, house calls.
Right.
And that advisor getting stuck or being in a prior appointment that went longer than anticipated. And they can actually redeem more time by meeting in these secure virtual areas. So for the advisor that's doing the dinner event or doing the adult education, making the offer and saying, I'd love to have an opportunity to meet with you. And we can meet in one of three places: your place, my place, or a digital place, and still have the ability to serve that client at the highest level, has really created a new dynamic in the educational marketplace that I think is going to help producers as we see these seminars really start to pick up, gaining steam. Tell me what you're seeing, Jeff, in terms of, as we've come out of the pandemic, a lot of the country's wide open right now. What are you seeing in terms of the number of producers that are doing live in-person events as compared to just a few months ago?
It is definitely increasing. What I have noticed is I try to track all the results and, from all these different workshops and seminars. Month in, month out, over the past 3 or 4 months, I'm starting to see increased numbers, not huge, 5, 6, 7% more, where the public is basically, accepted. This is our new norm, and they're going to, they're coming out for these workshops, where I was sending out 10,000 pieces and I was getting, 50 to 60, 8 or 9 months ago. Now I'm getting 75 or 80, and some of them over 1%. Now, going back to your advisors doing the, more of a virtual type stuff, which I agree, absolutely. But I still don't think there's a substitute for the original meeting in person, from the live event. We do web-based marketing, Facebook, just like all these other companies, and, do webinars. And I just don't think there's nothing, it doesn't compare to the live event. With the live event, people show up, they feel comfortable with you, and then they can do the virtual, and you can do business with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a very
start off virtual.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is when you're doing a web-based webinar, you might have, let's say you have 100 people sign up. Your attendee ratio what I've determined is about 30% of what people sign up will attend a webinar, where on a live event, I run about 85%.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody shows up for a live event, they're going to sit through your whole, most people are not rude, and they're not going to get up in the middle of it, even if they don't like you and they don't feel like you're giving a good presentation. They at least sit through whatever your topic that you're talking through. Where when it is a webinar, it's so easy just to take the mouse and go up there and click the X and be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Where, a lot of my advisors have said, oh yeah, well, I had, 30 people were on my webinar, after 15 minutes, I had 12, at the end, I had 4,
Yeah.
And, which I think it's a good way to market, but I just much prefer direct mail from the standpoint of, you get to build that in-face credibility. But, more importantly, with mail, I can target exactly the people you want to.
Exactly.
Where
That's
with
one of the things I
Facebook,
like. Yeah, I love direct mail for that reason,
right?
Because everybody's got a mailbox.
Right.
And so you're going to get almost 100% delivery. There may be a couple of bad addresses in there, but you're going to get almost 100% delivery as compared to email, Facebook, any other type of marketing that's out there. The only thing I know that comes close is the ability to do text messaging.
Right.
But for getting folks to a live event, and I agree with you, the live in-person event by far gives the producer an opportunity to really build that rapport and really make that personal connection with that client. And unless that advisor is really, really good at making a presentation, they may start, like you said, with 30 or 40. And by the time they're done, they wonder where everybody's gone.
Right.
A lot of them are realizing, because they're not paying attention to the numbers, that they watch the numbers as they dial into their webinar and they see, oh, there's 40 people here. And they go into their event and they never look at the numbers till the end. And they look down at the end of the event and they find out there's 3 people left and they wonder what happened.
Right.
Part of that I want to say is you're either a boring presenter, or you're giving bad information, or you got the wrong people in the room, or a combination of those.
Right.
But the ability to be in the room live, to interact, to literally shake somebody's hand, pat somebody on the back, and have that real interaction with them is huge in getting the response of, yes, I'd like to learn more from you, and let's have an opportunity to further the conversation. 100% agree with you there.
Well, one thing that a lot of the advisors probably don't know, when you're comparing direct mail to digital, a lot of people don't realize that there was, I don't know if it was an actual law, but there was something passed a little while ago when it comes to Facebook marketing, that you can target ages up to 65. At 65, you go into a bucket where you might be 65 in 1 month, or you might be 98. So it cannot be broken down. You never know what you're getting if you're doing, especially if you're doing a dinner and you're marketing digital and you're sending the buckets. You might have people coming in, that are 80 years old that are just coming for a free dinner.
Right.
Where, like, when I do give you some age group stuff that I do for marketing, like for Social Security, for example, I market 60 to 67. I've had a lot of competitors. I have advisors call me up and they tell me they're doing Social Security, and I'll say, well, what are you mailing to? And they'll go, 55 to 70. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And they'll say, well, that's what my mail company told me to do. I said, how many people that are 55, 56, 57 care about Social Security? I mean, earliest they can take it is 62. I use, I like to show marketing that I get to my wife, who's 57. And about 6 months ago, she got a Social Security mailer, invited, some advisor invited her to a workshop. And I showed it to her and I said, honey, would you respond to this? And she looked at me, she goes, why do I care about Social Security? She said, I don't even know when I can take it. I said, your earliest you can take it is 62. And she goes, well, why would I go to this? I said, thank you. You proved my point. So I try to send out less mail to a more targeted market. I also find with these advisors that, they're, whether it might be wills and trusts or general retirement annuities or whatever, all these other companies are sending out 55 to 70. It seems to like that's always the market. And I'll ask these advisors, look at your book, where is your target market?
Mm-hmm.
And most of them will tell me, oh, well, most of my clients are 62 to 68, 69, somewhere around there. I said, then why don't you target those?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, why are you wasting money in sending out to people to 55, 56 when, you know, chances are they don't care.
Right.
You know, and Social Security, you know, I'll have, you know, people that are sending out and they'll tell me, oh, well, I sent out to people at 71, 72. Well, you know, at 72, you got the RMDs. I mean, it's past the time. So, you know, I try to, you know, I'm not trying to sell quantity. I'm trying to sell, you know, what is best for the advisor. If 6,500 pieces of mail can do it, why send 10,000?
That's right. Yeah.
You know, because it's all about getting to come back and them getting a return on investment.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons the larger mail houses do what you're talking about is it allows them to justify sending more mail so they can make a greater profit off what they're doing, knowing that doesn't necessarily serve that particular advisor as well.
Right.
And I appreciate what you said there, Jeff, because that's something we spend a lot of time talking about with our advisors is we deconstruct what they do in their business, and we go in and we help them look at their book of business objectively. And if their target audience and 80% of the people in their book of business are 62 to 68, using the numbers you shared, why in the world would you go market to people on the extremes of that when they're not your ideal customer?
Right.
Why not focus your marketing and be more specific and more precise? Because that's going to get you in front of the type of customer that you're good at working with, that you can speak their language, that relates to you, and that you have products and services that actually can meet their needs and a track record of serving that audience and serving it well. Why would you go elsewhere?
Yeah, I totally agree. Another thing that gives me a huge advantage, which doesn't so much apply in the financial industry, but I've kind of pigeonholed myself into this where I've spoiled my clients. Usually with the financial, with most of these companies out there, because a lot of them are not printers. They actually like Acquire Direct, for example. I bid on trying to do all their business. Great company. They're a good marketing company, but they don't do their printing. They outsource it. So a lot of times the advisors are having to book stuff out, you know, 5-6 weeks ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Now, in my case, you can sign off on a proof today at 3 o'clock and I can have you in the mail tomorrow. So nobody's any faster. I usually tell everybody, you know, if you give me 30 days, that's plenty of time. You know, 3.5 weeks is really what I need. I have a sophisticated trucking system. All my mailers are barcoded and scanned. So meaning that I can tell you wherever your mail is at any time. You know, you say, oh, well, you know, I haven't got any calls. Well, you sent out 10,000 pieces. I can do an AccuTrace and say 6,500 are out for delivery today. Your other 3,500 should be out tomorrow. Another thing that MBI does that nobody else out there does is you're writing a check to me, not to the post office, not to the trucking company or whatever. If the mail does not get delivered on a timely basis a little bit prior to the event, I will remail it for free. If the trucking company doesn't do their job, if a hurricane comes in or, you know, 8 inches of snow, you know, we want our advisors to feel comfortable that, you know, they're not out the money. Because, you know, I've got advisors, you know, in Wisconsin and Michigan, and, you know, they're afraid to do stuff in February where, you know, it might get snowed out, you know, and the mail not get delivered. So it happens about 1 out of every 400 jobs. I have to redo it, but, you know, it gives the advisor the peace of mind that, you know, they're not going to be out if something happens.
Yeah.
You know,
that's valuable peace of mind to know, because I remember when I was doing a lot of personal production, I waited 1 year until March to do an event because we occasionally get some really weird weather here in Arkansas in January and February.
Right.
Out of the blue, we've got an event scheduled in March, and the day of the event, freak ice storm comes through and just literally shut our event down. Right. And as a result of that, all the money we spent for that event was gone.
Now, that kind of a case, I wouldn't redo it for free. What I mean is if it didn't get delivered, like I use a company, TeleDirect, which has a 24/7 dashboard that, you know, all the advisors can see the registrations. We can time to their emails where they all come in. So, you know, my guarantee pertains to it if it didn't get delivered.
Perfect. Very good.
And if it didn't get delivered because of weather, then that's a whole nother story. Of course, I'd redo it.
Absolutely.
But if, the building burned down, and you had 80 people that were ready to show up, that's kind of an act of God that,
Right.
I'd be a little exempt on that.
That's good
level.
clarity. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Right.
Now, you also have your own digital design team.
Yeah,
So that if somebody wants something
I have
done,
14 graphic artists.
yeah,
That are full time. I do not charge any kind of a fee to create anything. From the standpoint, if your advisors have some kind of an idea that they want to do, they can send me over bullets. I can have one of my most of the stuff I design. I'll put in most of the verbiage myself, and then I'll have my artists put in the colors and design it. Send it back to them. If they like it, great, we can go with it. If not, we can make 42 changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't charge them per hour or anything like that. It's an all-inclusive price.
That's fantastic. So if they've got their own unique presentation that they're using, you can match the mail piece
right
to the presentation that people are actually going to see. And that's a huge deal that a lot of guys and gals don't realize, is that when it comes to branding and you're branding a message you're going to be delivering to a client, you want that branding consistent across everything that you're doing. And far too often, some of the mail houses miss that because they've got their pet designs and that's all they do. And as a result of that, you get one message when the mail piece arrives, and then they show up for the event and the message and the look and feel is different. Many people don't realize the psychological disconnect that makes in the consumer. And when a consumer's confused, a confused mind says no. And so what you're doing in that consistency and branding across the board for the producer that's doing their own unique messaging allows them to be consistent and build that confidence in that branding all the way through, that psychologically gives them an advantage when they're in the room with the individual.
That's a huge key. I mean, if you're, if you're an advisor, excuse me, and you're doing something on Social Security and you're saying, Jeff, I just want butts in a seat, and, you send out a Social Security one and they show up and, you give them a little bit on Social Security and then you're on an income product, 5 minutes later and, and talking about annuities and stuff, you turn them off. You have to have the presentation has to, match with the mailer.
That's right.
And that's how you build the credibility and that's how you're going to get business with them. So, yeah, I have a lot of very successful mailers, in 11 by 17s, 8.5 by 11s, oversized postcards, that have done very well. And a lot of them, I'll just convert around the bullet points of whatever, the advisor, wants to present. They'll look at it and go, oh, that doesn't really pertain to me. Well, what would you like me to put in there instead? And, I've got some formats that work very well, but, we'll customize them, to that advisor. It's not a, cookie cutter here. You have to do this. Now, the one thing you will get with me and also with my salesmen that I've trained for several years is, we like to think we're marketing experts from the standpoint of doing these workshops. I'll have advisors call me up and they'll say, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have them come in on a one-on-one appointment or whatever. And I'll be very upfront with you and tell them it's not going to work. If you want to do it, I'll play your printer. If it works great, pat yourself on the back. If it does bad, don't blame me. I'm very vocal from the standpoint, I will tell you, hey, this is a bad piece. It's not going to draw. So I'm pretty good at what I do and I know what's going to respond and what topics are going to work. So, if you've got guys that have got marketing pieces that they've sent out, and they're like, oh, I like this, but it doesn't get the results. I might be able to spice it up.
There's a reason for that. Yeah.
Change it up, or give them an alternative that's going to get the bodies in that they're looking for.
Exactly.
Another thing talking about mailing lists with the net worth gold list. As I said, it's based on assessed home values. Now I can move it up and drop it down depending on the area. From the standpoint of if you're in a high dollar area where all the homes, and all the homes tend to be going up in most of the states these days, we can increase it to start at higher levels. So it's not a set list from the standpoint, it can be customized to whatever area somebody's in that, that's going to get the quality of people that they're looking to get in for their workshop or seminar.
Exactly. So Jeff, if somebody that's working with Vision Advisors wants to connect with you, what's the easiest way for them to reach out and say, I want to have a conversation with you about doing my direct mail?
My email address is jmills, MILLS, at MBI, that's Mary Boy Indian, directmail.com, or easiest just to reach me on my cell. Most of my advisors have all become friends. A lot of the FMOs, IMOs I work with, they just call me personally on my cell phone, 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's, I take calls whenever. Easiest to reach me on my cell, which is 407-592-7420.
Very good. And we will publish that information as well below this video. So those of you that are watching this will have an opportunity to have that contact information. And of course, you can always reach out to us here at Vision Advisors.
And
now, go ahead.
One more thing, if you'd like to check out my company, you can go to www.mbidirectmail.com. It shows all our presses, and it just shows that we're just basically a large print shop. But you can see that we actually do all the stuff in-house, and we're not just a couple guys in an office, farming it out. So, we actually do everything in-house.
Yeah, print, digital, the design work, they've got everything in-house. Now, I want to remind advisors of one other thing as we wrap this up, Jeff. The opportunity to work with Vision Advisors is unique in the fact that we reinvest back in our producers. So as you are doing business with Vision Advisors and you're doing business that qualifies for our Money to Marketing initiative, remember that as you're working with MBI to do your direct mail, the volume of business that you do with us is going to put money in your marketing account that you can use to pay for direct mail, to pay for the supporting digital marketing around it, and all the other things you want to do to continue to grow your business. So that's one of the areas that we at Vision Advisors invest back in our producers to give you an opportunity to see success. And if you're going to invest dollars with MBI to do work with them and it works, why not write the business with us, get the money to market so you can reinvest those same dollars again and allow us to pay in part or in whole for your marketing and give you an opportunity to see more success and let us reward you for being successful. That's one of the things that we at Vision Advisors bring to the table. And I wanted to remind you of that as we wrap up. Jeff, any last words before we say goodbye?
One more thing. A lot of the advisors out there are familiar with the Baby Boomer Dilemma movie, which has been promoting. We are the mail house of choice that the movie producers are promoting. We've done it for about 30 or 40 advisors, and we're getting calls every day. I don't know if any of your advisors are thinking about presenting the Baby Boomer Dilemma. They're basically renting a theater and then inviting people to come out and buying and giving them popcorn and and Cokes. It's working very good. So a lot of your advisors have probably heard of it. We are the mail house of choice that they are recommending it. So if any of your advisors would like to promote that movie, have them reach out to me and I can send them some sample mailers that we've been doing that have been working very well.
Absolutely. We have samples as well. So if you'd like to see some of the work that they've done, again, visit their website. We'll put the link and the information, all the contact info below. We have that here at Vision Advisors. So if you have any questions, anything we can do to help you want to take a look at some of the messages that we've developed that are working with other financial advisors across the country as they're getting in front of their ideal customers to have that important educational conversation. We'd love to help you in that arena. VisionAdvisorsInc.com is our website. The number here, 1-800-505-8489, 1-800-505-8489. I'm at extension 102. And when you dial that extension, it rings to my office, it rings to my home office, and it rings to my cell. And like Jeff, I'm one of those guys that loves to have conversation with financial advisors. And my day starts about 8 in the morning and it typically ends around 10 o'clock at night. And I'm having conversations all throughout the day because I want to help you be successful. You've got a vision for your financial success, and we want to come alongside and support that and take that vision and turn it into physical reality for you and the customer you should serve. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us and have a great day.